What if we had never discovered fire? Would humanity still exist? Or would we have disappeared long before building cities, machines, books, airplanes, and everything we now call civilization? It sounds like a simple question, but it might be one of the most important questions about our species. Because fire was not just a tool. It was a turning point. Before it, the night belonged to predators. Food was raw. The cold could kill. Darkness swallowed everything. And our ancestors were just another animal trying to survive on a brutal planet. But when we learned how to control fire, something changed. And the strangest part is that change may not have started in the brain. It may have started in the stomach. Because there is a fascinating theory that connects fire directly to the growth of the human brain. But to understand that, we need to go back to a world where even a simple meal could take hours of effort. Before fire, eating was a battle. Raw meat, hard roots, fibrous plants. Food that was difficult to chew, difficult to digest, and not always safe. The body had to work constantly just to extract energy from food. And that creates a massive problem. The human brain is expensive. Very expensive. It consumes an enormous amount of energy compared to its size. So, an unavoidable question appears. How did a fragile animal without claws, without fangs, and without great speed manage to sustain such a powerful brain? The answer might be hidden in something that today seems completely ordinary. Cooking. When you cook food, it changes. Meat becomes softer. Roots become easier to digest. Some toxins are reduced. More calories become available. The body spends less energy processing it. And that saved energy may have changed everything. Fire may have given our ancestors an invisible advantage. Not just more food, but food that was easier to use. More energy, less digestive effort, more time, more safety. And little by little, more room for a larger brain. It doesn't mean a monkey looked at a fire and invented philosophy the next day. Evolution doesn't work like a YouTube tutorial. But fire may have been one of the key pieces of the puzzle. A silent piece. Warm, dangerous, and transformative. But that's still not the most interesting part. Because fire didn't just change what we put into our mouths. It changed what happened after the sun went down. Imagine the night before fire. Really imagine it. No lights. No cities. No street lamps. No screens. Not a single source of artificial light. When the sun went down, the world didn't just become dark. It became threatening. Human vision was not made for total darkness. We don't see like cats. We don't hunt in the dark like owls. We don't sense the world like bats. For an ancient human, the night was a territory where any sound could be a threat. A branch snapping in the forest. A distant breath. A movement between the trees. Maybe it was just the wind. Maybe it was the last sound you would ever hear. And then the fire appears. Small, unstable, easy to put out, but powerful enough to push the darkness back a few meters. For the first time, the night was no longer completely invincible. Fire created a bubble, a small island of light in an ocean of fear. There, predators hesitated. The cold weakened. Faces became visible. Hands grew warmer. And something new became possible. Staying awake after sunset. That sounds simple today. But it may have been a revolution. Because fire may have created something no other animal had in the same way. A social night. During the day, our ancestors had to survive. Search for food. Hunt. Gather, run, track signs, carry children, avoid danger. But At night, around the fire, the group could do something different. They could stop, look, listen, talk. And this is where the story becomes truly interesting, because the campfire may have been humanity's first cinema. Before books, before paintings, before temples, before any kind of screen. There was a group sitting in the dark, looking at faces lit by flames, listening to someone describe what had happened during the day. A hunt, a danger, a strange animal, a death, a path, a memory, a warning. And that changes everything. Because when someone tells a story, the brain of the listener experiences something that is not happening in that moment. You imagine. You simulate. You predict. You learn without needing to be there. An animal learns from what it experiences. A human also learns from what others describe. That difference is massive. If one ancestor almost died near a river, he could tell the group. And the entire group could learn without almost dying as well. Which, let's be honest, is a much more efficient way to learn than discovering things by getting bitten in the face. Stories were not just entertainment. They were compressed survival, collective memory, future simulation, a manual of danger. And fire may have expanded the time available for that. More conversation, more bonding, more imagination, more language, more culture, more transmission of knowledge. And this leads us to an even deeper question. Did the human brain grow only because we started eating better? Or also because we began to live inside shared imagined worlds? Because around the fire, our ancestors could do something extraordinary. They could talk about things that were not there. An animal that was not present. A threat that had not happened yet. A hunt that existed only in the mind. A plan for tomorrow. A mistake made yesterday. A child learning something that happened before they were even born. That is profoundly human. And maybe it was in that space between light and darkness that we began to become something different. But fire did even more. It expanded the human territory. Without fire, the cold limits you. The night limits you. Food limits you. Geography limits you. Some regions become too dangerous. Some foods remain useless. Some environments simply push your species away. With fire, humans could go further. They could stay warm. They could cook different kinds of food. They could light up shelters. They could harden wooden tips. They could transform materials. They could occupy places that were once almost impossible. The fire was protection, but it was also a passport. And the more humans spread, the more challenges they faced. New climates, new animals, new plants, new threats, new paths. Every environment demanded adaptation. And adaptation requires intelligence. It requires memory. It requires cooperation. It requires communication. It requires culture. So maybe fire didn't just help humans survive. Maybe it placed humans in situations that forced the human mind to become more flexible, more creative, more social, more strategic, more human. And here's a nearly disturbing idea. We like to think we mastered fire. But maybe fire also mastered us. Because once a species learns to control a force like this, it never lives the same way again. It changes its food. It changes its sleep. It changes its gatherings. It changes its fears. It changes its territories. It changes its stories. It changes its relationship with the night. And without even noticing, it begins to change itself. Fire was not just a tool in human hands. It may have been a force shaping human evolution itself. Now go back to the original question. What if we had never discovered fire? Maybe some form of human would still exist. Maybe we would live in warmer regions. Maybe our bodies would be different. Maybe our digestive systems would work much harder. Maybe we would spend far more time chewing and digesting. Maybe we would fear the night much more. Maybe our groups would be smaller. Maybe our stories would be shorter. Maybe our culture would evolve more slowly. Maybe we would never have conquered cold regions. Maybe we would never have built cities. Maybe we would never have looked at the stars long enough to wonder what lies beyond them. Because before conquering the sky, humans had to conquer the night. And the first thing that pushed the darkness away was not a light bulb. It was a flame. Today, fire feels primitive. Something for camping. Something for cooking. Something decorative. But for most of human history, it was one of the most important forces in the world. It cooked our food. It protected our bodies. It lit our nights. It warmed our shelters. It gathered our groups. It expanded our territory. And it may have helped shape the very brain that is now trying to understand all of this. In the end, fire may not have been just something we used to survive. It may have been what made us capable of imagining a life beyond survival. Because an animal runs from the darkness, but a human lights a fire, sits around it, looks into it, and begins to tell a story. Maybe civilization began with tools. Maybe it began with language. Maybe it began with cooperation. But before any of that was possible, there may have been only a group of frightened humans sitting in the dark, staring at a flame. And for the first time, the night did not seem invincible. So the next time you look at fire, remember this. That is not just a flame. It is an ancient memory of our species, a fragment of your brain's history, a small light that, long ago, may have ignited something inside us. Because maybe fire didn't just illuminate the world. Maybe it ignited the human mind.